And there's still time to give back to people in need this holiday season. WENY's Alexandra Duran talked to the Corning Salvation Army about the need for more donations. Alexandra.
Yeah, Renata, the Salvation Army in Corning is still about $30,000 away from their 2023 goal, which is $70,000. Major Stewart tells me the organization is getting nervous, but they're hopeful. The money that gets raised from donations and the Red Kettle fundraiser, it all goes right back into helping people in the community in the upcoming new year. The funds assist with utility bills, food, housing, and day-to-day programs. And Major Stewart adds that the #1 concern the organization has right now is not being able to help people who stop by, those who are in desperate need of that help.
We're in need of help, that it goes a long way. It's beyond Christmas. While we're so grateful for what we're given at Christmas time, all the contributions, we are in great need of having funds to help us with our ongoing mission.
And Major Stewart says the final day for the organization to meet that goal is December 31st. So there's still time to give back, and you can donate at any Red Kettle location, online, or just by stopping by at the location at 32 Denison Parkway in Corning with a contribution. Renata.
All right, Alexander, thank you. And tonight marks the final night of packing for the Arctic League in Chemung County. Volunteers have spent 12 nights packing thousands of toys to be delivered to children across the county on Christmas Eve. The Arctic League is Chemung County's oldest charity and works to make sure no child in Chemung County goes without Christmas. They also marked a record-breaking fundraising year, bringing in $313,000 in donations. Those funds will be used to buy gifts for next year. The Elmira Police Department bid a fond farewell to one of their own in a retirement ceremony outside City Hall today. WENY's Connor Freidoff was there and caught up with the retiring officer. Connor?
Yes, Renata. Personnel from the Elmira Police Department lined up for a ceremonial walkout to dedicate the service of Detective Bureau Lieutenant Yuri Cherlano, who formally retired from duty today after a 17-year tenure with the Elmira Police Department. Now, Lieutenant Cherlano joined EPD in 2006. He served on patrol until 2019 following a promotion to the Detective Bureau. And in January of 2022, he became the Detective Bureau's commander in charge of the department's investigative division. And in addition to his investigative work, Cherlano has also served as a police instructor with focuses in both mental health and domestic violence.
It's overwhelming, but it's time for me to walk on, start my next chapter. I'm just retiring from this, not from life. I'm going on to my whatever comes up next.
And throughout his time at EPD, Lieutenant Cherlano also served in leadership roles with the Crisis Negotiation Team and the Police Honor Guard. He stated that he will miss the camaraderie between himself and his co-workers that he enjoyed during his time with the force. Renata, back to you.
All right, Connor, thank you. Well, the Horseheads man who had bomb-making materials and substances in his apartment that led to the evacuation of an entire neighborhood last month has pleaded guilty. 43-year-old Michael Hilliard pleaded guilty in Chemung County Court to 2 charges of criminal possession of a weapon and reckless endangerment. Hilliard is accused of trying to set off an IED in the town of Veteran on November 3rd and then blowing one up on November 5th. Now, that led authorities to trace evidence back to Hilliard's apartment on South Main Street in Horseheads. There, police found volatile substances and bomb-making materials and evacuated a 2-block radius in town for more than 2 days. Hilliard will now be sentenced in March to 4 to 12 years in state prison. Authorities say he had no prior criminal history. Well, some advocates and lawmakers are urging New York's governor to declare a public emergency to combat the opioid epidemic. Today, WENY's New York Capitol correspondent Elise Klein breaks down the issue and talks to the governor about whether or not it's something she would consider.
This week, advocates travel to Albany and rally on the Capitol steps, urging the governor to declare an addiction public health emergency to combat the opioid epidemic. Some advocates in recovery from addiction tear up, rallying for themselves and their friends.
I've been through a lot, like all of us who are in recovery have been through a lot. And I think one of the hardest things is now being in recovery and seeing people who so desperately want recovery but aren't able to get it because they don't have an opportunity to.
According to data from the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports, the number of opioid overdose deaths have nearly doubled in the past few years. More than 5,300 New Yorkers died from an opioid overdose in 2022. Sakala says one of the biggest obstacles facing this issue is funding to address it. Some lawmakers say if Governor Kathy Hochul declares a public emergency for this issue, it could open up more doors for funding and resources.
And what she should do is bring focus to the ongoing and growing problem of addiction in our state, and bring focus by declaring it a public health emergency.
Governor Hochul says her office is treating this issue as an emergency, but will not declare a public emergency at this time.
What an emergency declaration does, it simply allows you to bypass the normal channels for procurement. So, yes, it's an emergency. We're focusing on it with a sense of urgency, but nothing at this time dictates that we bypass the normal channels.
In Albany, Elise Klein, WENY News.
A dual U.S.-Israeli citizen thought to be taken hostage by Hamas is dead. But more on heavy negotiations on sending humanitarian aid to Gaza as well. Plus, the dangers of lead poisoning from contaminated applesauce continue to cause concern, and cases are still going up.
And we are expecting a mild Christmas across the Twin Tiers, but how long will the mild conditions stick around? I'll let you know coming up right after the break. But first, let's step outside, take a live look at our Crystal City Skycam overlooking Market Street in downtown Corning. You're watching WENY News at 6.